Welcome to another episode of the Modern Facilities Management Podcast, brought to you by Stratum. I'm your host, Griffin Hamilton. This is the show where I interview industry experts who share their stories, strategies, and insights into modern-day facilities management. From hospitality to commercial real estate and everything in between, we'll learn what it really takes to succeed as a facilities manager. Welcome to another episode of the Modern Facilities Management Podcast. Today, I've got Keith Watkins joining. Keith, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Griffin?
I'm doing well. Getting ready for the weekend.
Nice.
How are things up in New York?
A little bit chilly today with rain. We've hit our 90s, we've hit our 40s. I think we're in the 60s now, so we're covering the whole gamut known as summer in central New York or downstate New York.
Well, are you originally from New York, by the way?
Oh yeah, I was born in Flushing and then lived up in the Syracuse area my whole life, the last 27 years or so in my career, and I've been downstate for the last 4.
All right, so big question, Mets or Yankees?
Oh, absolutely Mets. Are you kidding me?
I
was born in Flushing. I could look into the old Shea Stadium from the top of the apartment building my dad was the superintendent of. Are you kidding?
You know, the best thing, this is a question, do you know what the best thing about Shea Stadium is?
It's no longer there. No, I don't know.
Chipper Jones is actually the best thing about Shea Stadium.
Oh, come on.
Hey, I'm from Atlanta.
Nice talking with you. We'll see you later.
I'm from Atlanta. I have to make that plug here.
There you go.
So getting away from baseball, sadly, tell us a little bit more about you, who you are, both personally and professionally.
Okay, so Keith Watkins, I have the CDF accreditation there on my title. It stands for Certified Director of Facilities. I'm one of approximately 46 directors of facilities in the state of New York who has that accreditation, so it's not a large pool. It's something I worked very hard to achieve. I achieved that through the New York State School Facilities Association. It's a wonderful professional facilities association for New York State public schools. I'm currently in my job capacity. I'm on my 31st year. I will be changing the front number this year. I'll be the big 5-0. I am in my 6th district. I can't seem to keep a job. I worked in 5 districts in the central New York area around Syracuse, New York. Some wonderful school districts, Phoenix, New York, Skaneateles, New York, Marcellus, Liverpool, and North Syracuse. I now work for the city school district of New Rochelle. I love it. It's very challenging. It's not easy, but I think that's what really drew me to the position when I was asked if I wanted to come down and interview. I really like it. I have 3 boys, one at NC State. He's ready to graduate. He's doing a actuarial analyst internship for Blue Cross of North Carolina. He's really good with numbers, which I am not. My middle son just finished 1 year in an electrical apprenticeship program. He has aspirations to be a full-blown certified electrician. He'll do great with that. I'm not 18 and paid cash for my first car, so he's doing very well. And my youngest son just committed to the Citadel, the military academy, South Carolina. He'll be joining the wrestling team there. And he has I think he'll embrace it very well and do well, but I think he's in for a shocker of the military lifestyle. So my wife and I are going to be watching from the sidelines, encouraging him. So
That's awesome. That is very, very cool. So you're about to be in the empty nest, huh?
Well, yes and no. My mother does live with us, and she does make every day exciting. So when I leave my current position sometime next summer, I plan to move south, either North Carolina or South Carolina. I will only be 51, but I would like to get out of facilities as far as managing other folks and focus on some private consulting opportunities that I might have. And then, like I said, my wife always tells me that managing my time is a full-time job, let alone 130 folks that I manage at New Rochelle.
So with you having gotten into and stayed in facilities management with schools, was that intentional that you wanted to get into the school system, or did you just kind of fall into it?
It's a great question. My father was a custodian in the Liverpool Central School District, which is just outside of Syracuse. It's there's two large school districts there outside of the Syracuse city. There's Liverpool and there's North Syracuse. He was in Liverpool 26 years. Unfortunately, he died of cancer. He didn't really get to enjoy his retirement, but I was always intrigued by what he did. I thought, he provided a great service to students and staff, and the opportunity to serve, I think, is missed by so many. So I was doing construction. I was a steel worker. I was doing landscaping. All those things you find out you don't want to do for a living. And he said, "Hey, you subbed for a while. I got a position coming up. You should interview for it." I'm like, why do I want to scrub toilets for a living, Dad? He's like, "Well, there's a thing called a pension. It's got a good pay, and there's medical benefits, and you won't be living in the house forever, son." So I heard the message. I applied for the job, and I was successful. So I did construction and landscaping and all those things by day. But from 2 to 10:30, I was a custodial helper attached to a cart in an assigned area. And then I finally started taking some civil service exams, and I got canvassed by other schools. And then I worked my way up from a custodial helper for almost 12 years as a director of facilities. And then I now took my job down in New Rochelle, where I am currently.
Got it. And so you really did start at the bottom and had to work your way up. And that's something that I hear pretty consistently, getting into the industry where it is something where you've got to just get your foot in the door and then prove yourself. And you eventually, and this is an industry where you can work your way up. And of course, formal education helps, right? Getting those certifications. But this is one of those unique industries where you have the opportunity to get in, show what you could do, and move up the chain.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a wrestling scholarship. It wasn't enough to intrigue me to want to do that sport because it is the toughest sport on earth. I went and kind of hit the road for a few months, got that out of my system, went and saw family in California. I miss my mom, I'll admit it. I came back to see my mom. But to your point, Griffin, starting out as a custodial helper helped me really understand the fundamentals, the beginning stages, what it meant to clean, disinfect, the terms that we're now hearing a lot, like dwell time. And, so I learned that very young, but at some point, I did say to myself, as much as it's nice to start so young, I'm going to need that educational side. So I did go online at Mohawk Valley Community College, and I received a professional certificate for facilities management and public education. I'll be truthfully and transparent. I'm probably 4 classes away from getting my degree, which I never finished. But I have my CDF, I have my professional certificate, I have a bunch of other accolades and things which are great. So I think for me personally, I think I was able to meld the starting at the bottom of the food chain, so to say, and the educational piece, and I think I've melded them together to really, my career speaks for itself. So I've done very well. I'm blessed, and I've learned that smart people put smart people around them. So you get connected, and you just stay the course, and you learn to adapt.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is really what makes this role, right? Is the ability to adapt, and having gone through and gone through every level and understanding it intimately. I'm sure that made you that much better of a facilities manager. And as you got your way up, having that understanding, I'm sure had several benefits as you progressed.
Yeah. I like now, I kind of enjoy the times where I get to actually interview folks for new jobs, or I get to interview existing permanent staff who have the aspirations and goals to better themselves. And they're at that stage where they're taking the custodial laborer, they're in the laborer position, but they want to become an assistant custodian, which is the next, now you've got a test, right? So I always hand them, I have a bunch of study material. I'll encourage them. I'll give them my study material. I just encourage them to just keep striving to be the best, because I just see a little bit of myself in those folks. And I got to say, New Rochelle really has a really good contingent of young, robust, energetic staff who really want to do the best. So it's very exciting to see.
Yeah, and you've been with public schools your entire career. No private schools, is that right?
No private schools. I've done some consulting and through some professional associations I belong to. We do have a lot of private schools reach out for best practices. So I'm not just speaking for myself. I have other colleagues who have done the same. we will lend an ear, we will lend a hand, and we will offer advice on best practices. But me personally, no, I'm currently in my 31st year in all New York State public schools.
And is there, and I see with facilities management, there's so much, so many similarities industry to industry, even beyond the educational space, right? Even in restaurants, there's some takeaways that you could have. And was there anything that you, through your consulting, found to be unique in the public, working in public schools as opposed to the private school systems?
I'd say one of the things that I think was a common theme that people really couldn't grasp where, again, I talked about the starting at the bottom of the food chain, understanding that I needed some educational background for people to maybe consider me a subject matter expert or even take my word as value. I think the piece that I see repetitious in question is, am I understaffed? Am I overstaffed? Can I utilize my staff better? How can I maximize performance and efficiency? How can I make my staff want to show up every day with a good attitude? And I think that's where I do this in my permanent job, obviously, but also when I'm asked to do something on the side, or could you please do some consulting for us? I really found a niche in, time tasking, labor tasking, redeveloping by industry standards how to better utilize their staff or add more equipment if labor wasn't an option. So that's something I've found great success in, and I think why I have been sought after for what I do, because there is a method and a practice to staffing how much square footage a grounds person can do, how many square footage a maintenance worker can do, how many square footage a custodial worker can do. And when you pull it all together, there are variables, but I've managed to put together some pretty successful facilities department teams. So proud of that.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because that is an area where, like I said, across the industry, people are looking to be more efficient, and you only have so many heads, right? You only have enough budget for the staff that you have, and right. In facilities, we're always running around with our heads. It seems like our heads are chopped off, right? So I'm sure you could talk about this for hours, but high level, what is something that someone could do for a short-term win, something they could immediately implement to really get the ball rolling on being more efficient there?
I think it's more, ask the questions. If I'm new to a job and I meet you for the first time and I see that you're really good at your time management skills are like off the chart, and I'm new and I don't know the difference between a microfiber cloth and a cotton cloth and dwell time and a disinfectant versus a general purpose cleaner, all these things that everyone has had a real crash course in the last year for sure. But, don't be afraid to have those important conversations. I always told my kids, when you shake someone's hand, you better be looking them in the eyes, because, you're going to be deemed as disrespectful, or you don't care, or you can't be bothered. And that's the last message you want to send. So reach out. I talked about a couple of professional associations, New York State School Facilities Association. I'm a past president. The National School Plant Management Association. I'm the immediate past president. You need to tie into these professional associations because they have hundreds and thousands of resources, but right out of the gate, when I show up to a job to do it for the first time, I'm looking for that person that's deemed as successful or an expert in their field, and I'm going to grab a hold of that person. I'm going to ask the right questions and see what made them successful.
Love it. Yeah, always got to be learning, and rely on the people around you. They've been there. Ask those questions, and be a sponge. That's great. And you brought up the different organizations that you've been a part of. Talk to that a little bit more. Yeah, you mentioned the NSPMA, that you're the past president there.
Yep. So NSPMA, got to throw a lot of acronyms at you. I'll try to explain them. But the National School Plant Management Association. It's about 21 states currently, and we're actively growing. I'm the immediate past president. I did get the title of the COVID president, not what I wanted. It is a 4-year commitment. You're president-elect, you're vice president, you're president, and then you're the immediate past. So I'm in the 4th year of my signing on and being elected. So I would recommend this to anybody who's looking to grow and be a part of something bigger than themselves. But NSPMA, we have an annual conference right now. It's been in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. But the next two, the vice president and the president-elect, are both from Tennessee. And those states have their own separate entity so they're the Tennessee School Plant Management Association Virginia has one. South Carolina has one. So we're a national association, but within some of the states, they have their own private subdivision of it. So great association. It was a little smaller than I thought when I attended the first conference. And here's a little tidbit. Just make sure you know who your friends are, because I left the opening ceremony to use the restroom. And when I got back, I found out that I was elected to the board. So be careful who you leave when you leave a conference. But I got to say, I probably would have done it anyways if I was in the room. It was started out with just a simple monthly call, and it grew in. And I'm happy to be a part of it. I can just say that we are growing exponentially, and I'm really excited because we just signed on with a new association management firm. So they're going to help us with our marketing, our communications, our conferences, all of our training, our online accreditation program. This is going to be something big, and this is why you join in. You really get that necessary food to grow and make you successful. I mean, if you're not looking to be successful, maybe you should be looking somewhere else. But if you've got a passion to be the best in your career, you really need to find out and latch on to those professional associations. The other one is the New York State School Facilities Association. I mentioned that earlier. That's where I got my Certified Director of Facilities accreditation. And actually, I'm a past president. I was president in 2014 to 15. I still sit on a couple I chair a couple committees, but my two that I chair, one is the accreditation committee. So I help those folks who show an interest in learning. The worst thing they can do to me is show me they have a mild interest, because I'm going to grab that. I'm going to water the heck out of that, because I want to see them be the best they can be. And the other one is our corporate matters, or our corporate liaison. So I get to deal with business partners who see value in being a member. They'll help sponsor scholarships for folks to attend. They'll be business partners. Of course, they get a benefit because we get their name out there for them. But it's definitely a collaboration of business partner and facilities directors that really provide that safe, clean environment for our staff, our student, staff, and community.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the national organization, you guys are in 21 different states, and you're growing. So I imagine you're going to be adding more states here in the near future.
Right.
If I'm somebody who's in one of the other states that aren't currently in the organization, how could I get involved?
You can go to the NSPMA.org website. You can be a member even though your state's not a member. There's individual memberships, but you get a better deal if your state association becomes a member, because you get a discounted price. But it's just like anything else related to professional development. I mean, I'm currently at home. The time you asked me, it was like, do I stay at work really late, get stuck in traffic coming out of the city, or do I get home? So I, of course, chose to get home. But I'm in my weight room, and having 3 boys, there's always competition in everything we do. So, here's a weight room that I'm sitting in, and it's got, there's a Spartan medal over there from Spartan races I've done. Here's a wrestling. It's not a sport, it's a lifestyle. I'm in the environment that I need to be in if I want to, get stronger mentally, physically. So I kind of take that same mentality towards my career. If I want to be the best I can be, and if I want to always be someone that people are looking at for professional advice or possibly my next career move, I want to be sharp and up to date with everything that relates to me in my career. And these professional associations are those tools and mechanisms to do that.
Yeah. And Keith, if someone this isn't just meant for professionals at this point. Is this meant for people interested in getting into the industry as well? Is there an entry level type program with these associations?
Well, typically you are a school, so it's National School Plant Management Association. So typically you're typically already employed in a public school district. You are in some facet, not necessarily leadership. When we have our conference in Myrtle Beach, the Horry County School District sends a bunch of their HVAC technicians, a lot of their cleaners or custodians, and they really get a couple of days of really intense professional development. I mean, there's tracks for everybody. I mean, we do focus on some of the leadership roles. We do look at, we're trying to grow our own, or, it takes a professional, or some of the conference themes that are sticking in my head. But to grow your own, you really have to offer a variety of things, and not just a leadership role, because then you would be turning away your potential leaders, right? So we do try to offer a lot, but typically, to answer your question, you are pretty much already employed in a public or private school district.
Got it. And so, and looking at your career and how you got into the industry, as we mentioned earlier, you really started out just getting your foot in the door and working your way up. Do you see that changing? Because I know there's a lot more organizations that are offering certifications, and there's now colleges and universities that are promoting facilities management, having an actual program in place. Is that something where you're seeing that to be more and more common, having that more intentional route and the, I guess, quote unquote, traditional education or that strategy of getting into into facilities management?
Yeah, I mean, there's like we talked about, there's pretty much two routes to everything. You jump into the workforce, like I'll take my middle son. He could have went right to college, even wrestled a little bit, but he didn't really know what he wanted to do. So he said, I really want to work with my hands. So instead of just getting into the trades and just kind of, letting it fall where it may, I said, well, that's great. You can work whatever you want, but we need to get an apprenticeship program. We need to find a trade school. You have to have the schooling piece with the hands-on knowledge. So he got into a great apprenticeship program, and he's filling out the hours of everything that he's doing related to his job, but yet he's working every day. So he's getting in the field experience, and yes, he is getting shot. And he's also getting the educational piece, which is a 4 to 5 hour Zoom call every Wednesday. He just finished his first year and graduated very good. Now he's got at least 3 more years, if not 4, but he's getting the schooling piece, but for his mentality and what he wanted to do, he's getting that everyday job, putting money in his account, but yet he's getting the schooling as well. So I think you just have to understand, what are you able to do? What are you looking to do? What are your priorities? He could just have gone to school and went into electrical engineering or picked up something else and then came back to the job site, so to say, later on. But he decided a good mix would be better for him. And I think people have to make that decision for themselves.
Yeah, that's great. And switching gears and going to, you mentioned that you were the COVID president. And it's hard not to bring up COVID, especially with you being up in New York. So walk me through that. I mean, this has been a chaotic year for everybody, but with New York being the epicenter of COVID, it seems, walk me through what that looked like from a facility standpoint.
Yeah. So it was Friday, March 13th. We heard rumors there was going to possibly be, this thing, and there's some things happening, but nobody knew what the thing was, and so we were open on a Friday and we were closed on Monday and didn't open our doors, for the rest of the school year. Next thing I know, I've got the National Guard in New Rochelle because New Rochelle has been called the epicenter of COVID. So, this is why I, if I act like I'm proud of New Rochelle, I am. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We had a couple of options, right? We could have just said, oh, woe is us. What are we going to do? No one's ever been through this before. What do we do? The sky is falling. The sky is falling. No, instead, we kind of dug our heels in and said, well, none of us have ever dealt with this before. We tapped into our professional associations. We gave the training to our staff. All of our PPE was bought. We're a large district, so I think we get a little bit spoiled with, and plus my 30 plus years of relationship building with the business partners. I really didn't get into a struggle with supply chain, all right? I really got everything I asked for and then some. And people were a little mad. How is he getting everything he wants? But we can't even get gloves. We can't even get masks. I bought 1.8 million face masks, right? I bought 1,000 cases of a hydrogen peroxide-based disinfectant 1 minute dwell time. We already had electrostatic sprayers in place 2 years prior to the pandemic. So we already had a very robust cleaning and disinfecting program. So for us, it was a little minor adjustments. Instead of disinfecting 3 days a week, we went to every day we were occupied. We implemented a antimicrobial coating that lasts 90 days. We implemented a MERV 15 filter. So 13 means you can get odors out of the air, some smells, maybe smoke, but you needed a MERV 16 to actually get down to the particle size of the coronavirus. So we were able to find a filter material that didn't have the normal static pressure drop on our HVAC systems that everyone was so worried about. We're going to burn out our systems. We're not even going to have ventilation. With a little bit of forethought and a little bit of pause and thinking, we were able to put probably the most robust air and surface program in place I had people call me, with my connections from all over the country. What are you doing? How are you doing it? Where can I get it? What did you pay? I said, well, I'm not going to, they might not charge you what you charge me because I buy a lot more volume. And where we are now, it's what you always say, if I knew what I know now then, we would have done some things different. There's no doubt about it because nobody knew. But the point is that I had staff and administration that were supportive, not only with money, but they would listen to what we were doing and they supported it. But the staff, our ground staff, went right into delivering 3,000 meals a day and handing out Chromebooks. So, that was pretty, they were going into areas and dropping off Chromebooks to students' apartments, to houses. This is at 11 o'clock at night, I got ground staff handing out Chromebooks. So, I never really got a pushback. I think the ability to serve the community and our students the way we did really speaks to how special New Rochelle is. So
yeah, that's unbelievable, and it's another good example of the importance of a network and that association, and then what we talked about previously of you have to have those types of relationships, and people are calling you for advice, and facilities, it should be such a tight group where we are going to come across issues that we've never seen before. And this is, I say it just about every interview I have, but there is no 9 to 5, there is no standard job description in facilities management. And that's just another example where I bet you would have never thought you were going to be handing out Chromebooks in the middle of the night, right. And yet there you are.
Right. I think I don't know if I butcher it, I apologize, but somebody showed me a coffee mug once and it said facility manager. Someone who is aware of a problem that you're not aware of and has already solved it in a way you wouldn't understand. Something like that. But, never underestimate the power of a good crisis. We have options. What we do, we can be leaders. We can support. We can jump in. My sleeves are always rolled up. Sometimes I wear a tie. Sometimes I don't, but my sleeves are always rolled up. The way that we responded to what was needed to keep the curriculum and the education and the teaching piece, because that's what schools are for. I know that we forget that, but to keep that education happening, I'm a big sports guy. You picked that up already. To see sports get shut down, that killed me. Then you got the arts and the drama. Those folks were devastated as well because their normal plays and concerts weren't happening. So we all kind of had to understand it was affecting everybody, and not one person was affected any more than anyone else. And, you get into COVID, you get into now where I'm not going to say we're post-COVID, but we're definitely getting on the tail end of it. The terminology and the things that we had to learn with social distancing, 3 feet, 6 feet, antimicrobial, PPE, hand sanitizer, alcohol-free, alcohol-based. I've now got floor finish that's made with microban technology on my gym floors and my hallway floors. Who would have ever thought I'd have microban in my floor finish? So, you've got to really pick your priorities. What kind of environment are you trying to provide? Because there's so much stuff out there right now. The person without a lot of experience could get really, kind of dazed with it. And you really have to have a plan. And if you don't know what the plan is, you really should reach out and talk to folks who may have something in place that you can learn from and may want to implement yourself.
Yeah. And looking ahead, and this is, I think, a loaded question here, but what are the lasting impacts of this? How are things going to change from a facility standpoint, in your opinion, post-COVID?
Well, I think you're going to see things get chiseled down. We're not going to have so much stuff. We're on a Zoom call right now. So this wouldn't have happened pre-COVID, right? Now it is. Now this is, so we've actually, it's the silver lining. The sky is falling. I'm like, there's some great things that are going to come out of this COVID pandemic. I'm sorry, there are. There's just some great things. The collaboration, the teamwork, the support, the relationships that have been forged during this pandemic are just unbelievable, and they'll be around forever. But, temperature taking devices, antimicrobials, maybe social distancing, but this Zoom technology and Teams and Google Meets, this is going to save a lot of folks. Now, the real estate market, commercial real estate might be still bumming out because people are not coming back to those storefronts that they had their businesses because now we're meeting like this. But I think moving forward, you really need to, we're still going to have our MERV 15 filters for our HVACs. We are implementing a dielectric barrier discharge bipolar ionization product. So there's a mouthful for you. There's a lot of cool technologies out there. My suggestion to anyone looking at these things would be do your homework, ask questions, find a subject matter expert, and pick their brain. Because some of this stuff is smoke and mirrors. Some of this stuff is a flash in the pan. And if you're going to invest a couple $1 million in something that in 3 years you're going to say, wow, how the heck did I do that? You really, if you are that go-to person who your district has hired to make and suggest these principles and practices moving forward for the safety of your students and staff, you better know what you're talking about. So do your homework, reach out, ask questions. But a lot of this stuff is going to be with us forever. I could have left last year, honestly, but after 30 years, the job is new again. It's like a whole different level of excitement because this pandemic has changed the entire facilities world and what we do. So I kind of got re-sparked, but I think I will most likely be calling it quits next summer. So.
Yeah, and I mean, again, going back to it, it's always something new in facilities. No. So if you got these short attention span and you need something new every day, then this is the industry for you.
Right.
And so with that, what if I'm interested in getting into facilities management? What's one piece of advice that you give someone, or something you wish you would have known when you started your career?
Well, I think you have to know yourself first of all, and then if you do think that facilities is your path to your career. Now, again, they say if you do something you like, it's never a job. It's a career. So don't make it a job. If you don't like facilities, don't get into it because it will be a job. I don't look at it as I'm excited every day to go to work. I know I'll have better days than others, but I am still very passionate to see those kids and to see those staff and to just to be around in that educational facilities environment that still drives me today. So I've been blessed. What I would say is just know yourself. So I have managed facilities department as small as 28 and all the way up to almost 200. So just understand that facilities management, we're not managing facilities. We're managing staff. We're managing people. So if you can treat and respect, and again, I make it sound so glorious, and it's not. At some point you're going to have a staff development problem that you're going to need to address with progressive discipline and go that route. That's not the glorious side of this job. But what the glorious side is when you find folks who want to be a mid-level manager. And when they get there, they are just so ecstatic and they're so productive and so pleasurable. So if you're going to want to get into facilities management, be a director of facilities or a plant manager, just understand there's a lot of people, relational things that you're going to have to make sure you're ready to deal with because not every employee is the same. So I tell people, I don't treat every employee the same. I treat every employee fairly. Because not everyone brings the same gifts to the table, and you have to learn to know what those gifts are and help them grow. And it's up to them whether they want to accept that challenge or stay idle or go backwards, which is the worst case scenario. But if you're a people person and you have an interest in facades and infrastructure and things like that, yeah, facilities is probably a good choice for you.
Yeah. And last question for you, I ask everybody, who or what has had the biggest impact on your career?
Well, obviously, I'd have to say my dad. He was a janitor. He was a custodian. I wish he was still alive because it'd be funny that I could be his boss. So I think we'd have some fun with that. But being the caring and loving father that he was and the great mentor and example, he'd be just as proud anyways. But, I would just say, my wife is a cancer survivor. And to watch her, our boys were 2, 3, and 4 when, she was diagnosed. And, she has a book that she's authored. It's on Amazon, Journey of a Lifetime. And, to see her, what she went through, really helps me wake up every day and realize that I can face any adversity because I've seen what she can do. She's 110, 12-pound little thing, and the power that comes out of that woman has made me so much better of a man, a husband, a father. And, I would say between my dad and my wife, I'm really blessed.
Yeah, puts it in perspective. And I think you broke the golden rule there. You're not supposed to share with everybody the weight there, so you might get in trouble.
Well, let's just say this. We've been married 28 years this year. She weighed 105 and I weighed 205 28 years ago. She weighs 110. I'm still in the 200s, but I'm not going to tell you that it's closer to 250 and not 205.
That's great. Well,
she's held up her end of the bargain a lot more than I have.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take care of that, I guess. Exactly. That's great. Well, Keith, hey man, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. I really appreciate you taking the time to hop on here, tell your story, and share your insights into your journey in facilities management. So once again, Keith, thanks for joining us.
Well, it's my pleasure. Happy to do it. And I hope that maybe if anyone's listening, that it will spark an interest in facilities management. If they take one piece out of this and can implement it back in their job, then not my job. I've been successful. But I'm always available. New Rochelle City School District of New Rochelle. I can always be reached. And I'm always happy to listen or share advice, whatever's needed. But it's an honor, and I really appreciate your time, Griffin.
Of course. Thanks again, Keith.
All right. Take care.